Skyrim accidentally created one of gaming's most elaborate conspiracy theories through 5 randomly placed jars. 13 years later, we still don't know what they actually mean. That's why today, I'm breaking down every single unsolved lore mystery in Skyrim, starting with the one that drove the community absolutely insane. Bug jars. 5 jars containing living insects are scattered across Skyrim. A bee at Golden Glow Estate, a butterfly at the Alchemist's Shack, a dragonfly in Dushnik Yal's cellar, a moth in Duskglow Crevice, a torch bug at Frostflow Lighthouse. Every single one has mysterious runic inscriptions carved into the inside of the cork lid. The runes don't match any known system. Players tried Elder Futhark, Younger Futhark, Proto-Norse, every runic alphabet that exists. Nothing translates consistently. The insects stay alive indefinitely and always face the same direction no matter how you rotate the jar. The most popular theory claims the 5 locations form a perfect pentagram on Skyrim's map with a shrine of Talos at the center, supposedly evidence of a Thalmor ritual to destroy reality. Players extracted fragments like Gift Horse Lake from the 15 total characters across all 5 lids, but the severe shortage of vowels makes actual translation impossible. In 2017, a Bethesda developer confirmed the jars were part of a scrapped quest cut early in development, except he never explained what the inscriptions actually mean. Game code shows 4 jars numbered sequentially, while the B jar uses completely different naming. The Saints and Seducer's creation added 3 more bug jars years later. Bethesda kept expanding the mystery instead of resolving it. Nobody in 13 years has definitively solved what the inscriptions mean, what the scrapped quest involved, or why Bethesda continues adding more jars through Creation Club content. The mystery persists specifically because the evidence is simultaneously too deliberate to be random and too incomplete to solve. But if you think random jars are disturbing, wait until you hear about the village sacrificing women for crop yields. Rorikstead is a tiny farming village in Skyrim's frozen tundra that produces impossibly abundant harvests. The founder Rorik claims he bought worthless land after the Great War. The village healer Juan Minette gets suspiciously defensive. Soul gems appear in every single house. Juan's quarters contain Spirit of the Daedra, a book about how Daedric princes harvest mortal souls. Only 3 copies exist in Skyrim. He secretly teaches young Sissel magic. What we do? The things I teach you, the others wouldn't understand. He teaches water breathing and candle tricks, not healing spells. Every young Nord woman in Rorikstead is dead. Lemkil's wife died giving birth to twins. Moralki's wife died when Eric was young. Juan couldn't save any of them. Lokir of Rorikstead stammers his hometown's name with genuine fear at Helgen before getting executed. Nobody in Rorikstead acknowledges he existed. But here's where it breaks everything. The book, The Atlas of Dragons, references Rorikstead in 2E 373, thousands of years before the mortal man Rorik was born. The dominant theory is that Juan and Rorik made a bargain with a Daedric prince, trade fertile women for fertile land. Soul gems trap the sacrificed souls. Bethesda likely planned a larger cult quest that got cut, leaving only the environmental storytelling. During Arena, a village called Lanealton occupied this exact location, then vanished completely. The recursive pattern of settlements appearing, disappearing, and reappearing suggests something far older than Rorik Kant. At least Rorikstead's darkness stays in one village. Unlike the ghost who revealed Talos was never one person. Old Hroldan. Sleep in Tiber Septim's room at Old Hroldan Inn past 1 a.m. and a ghostly Nord soldier appears. He calls you Hjalti, a name most players have never heard. You don't remember me, Hjalti? He demands a sword oath and mentions the Swordmasters of Alcair, a region in High Rock. Innkeeper Itis only knows Tiber Septim had many names. This quest validates the Arcturian heresy, arguing that Talos is not one person but an oversoul of 3 beings. Hjalti Earlybeard was a Breton youth from Alcair who became Tiber Septim. Ysmir Wolfhearth was an ancient undead Nord king whose storm powers accompanied Hjalti. Zurin Arctus was the imperial battle mage. Through catastrophic events involving the Mantella and Numidium, they merged into Talos. The ghost's mention of Alcair confirms Hjaldi was Breton, not the Nordic hero official history describes. The ghost mistakes the Dragonborn for Hjalti because both carry the same Lorcan-connected divine spark. This undermines both narratives. Stormcloaks claim Talos as pure Nord hero. The Empire claims Talos as singular divine emperor. The Civil War is fought over simplified mythology. Bethesda included this quest as subtle confirmation that the truth is far stranger than either side understands. The heresy describes how at Old Hroldan, Hjaldi went to the gates, and the storm followed above his head, shouting down the walls. This specific reference reference to storm voice powers explains why the ghost remembers campaigns with someone who could shout, connecting directly to the Dragonborn's Thuum abilities and creating the case of mistaken identity across thousands of years. But at least Talus's confusion doesn't break the Dark Brotherhood, unlike what happens when a child's prayer reaches nobody. The Black Sacrament. Orphan Aventus Aretino performs the Black Sacrament against his abusive caretaker Grelid the Kind. Except in 4E201, the Dark Brotherhood has no listener. The Night Mother hasn't spoken to anyone in years. Without a listener, Black Sacrament prayers cannot be relayed. Astrid's Falkreath Sanctuary listens for rumors, not divine contracts. When Aventus performs the sacrament, nobody should hear it, yet the Dragonborn ends up at that orphanage anyway. Grelid has exactly 1 HP, mechanically designed to die instantly. No bounty applies for killing her inside the orphanage. The orphans cheer. Runa Fairshield says, "Kill one person, and you can solve so many problems." I wonder at the possibilities. The Dragonborn fulfills a contract they never received, gets a "we know" note with a black handprint, and Astrid kidnaps them as recruitment. The question is whether the Night Mother orchestrated events despite having no listener. She heard Aventus, but couldn't relay it officially. Did she influence circumstances to draw the Dragonborn toward Aventus? The accidental fulfillment leads to Brotherhood membership, which leads to becoming the listener she desperately needed. The scenario also critiques the Brotherhood's decline. A child's prayers going unanswered while an untrained adventurer stumbles into the job demonstrates how thoroughly Astrid's deviation broke the organization. The irony deepens when you realize Astrid's leadership mirrors Grelid's. Both run dysfunctional families that would be better off without them. Aventus performs an entire ritual involving a human heart, nightshade, and a skeletal effigy while chanting to the Night Mother. The precision of his ritual suggests someone taught him or he found explicit instructions. Nobody questions where a child learned forbidden Dark Brotherhood rites, raising the possibility the Night Mother herself planted the knowledge to engineer the entire sequence. But if the Night Mother orchestrating events is disturbing, wait until you hear she's actually a Daedric prince wearing a corpse. The Night Mother. The Night Mother is either a murdered Dunmer woman or a Daedric prince wearing a corpse. The Night Mother's truth claims she was Dunmer, who killed her 5 children and was murdered by villagers. Fire and Darkness flatly states the Night Mother is Mephala, the Daedric prince of lies and murder. Sacred Witness claims she was a little old lady from the Thieves Guild. The author was found dead with black and white stones over his eyes. In Skyrim, the corpse has human features despite lore calling her Dunmer. Rounded ears, human skin tone. Shooting the coffin with Soul Trap produces purple energy as if striking a living entity. She speaks directly to the Dragonborn during Whispers in the Dark, demonstrating agency Corpse's lack. The Mephala connection runs deep. In the Whispering Door, Mephala manipulates Jarl Balgruf's son through lies and secrets. The Morag Tong, the Brotherhood's predecessor, explicitly served Mephala. Their Black Hands parallel the Brotherhood's Black Hand organization. In Daggerfall, the Iliac Bay Brotherhood openly worshipped Mephala as Queen of Oblivion. The most elegant theory synthesizes every contradiction. A mortal woman genuinely existed, killed her children, and died. But Mephala now inhabits her corpse as a vessel, controlling the Brotherhood through deception, making the entire organization unwitting servants of a Daedric prince, while believing they serve Sithis. This represents the ultimate expression of Mephala's sphere, a lie so complete even the faithful don't know they're deceived. Bethesda maintains this ambiguity across 5 games because resolving it would undermine an organization built on secrets. Fire and Darkness explicitly states the truth, but players dismiss it because contradictory sources exist, which is exactly how Mephala would want it. But at least the deception stays within one organization, unlike the Ebony Warrior, who wants a death that might be impossible. The Ebony Warrior, at level 80, a warrior in full ebony armor, approaches the Dragonborn. "I have done all that can be done. There is nothing left, except for you." He asks the Dragonborn to send him to Sovngarde with honor, then waits at last vigil for his final battle, except he's a Redguard, a race whose afterlife is the far shores, not Sovngarde. He's asking for an afterlife he cannot reach. Looting his body reveals impossible inventory. He carries a human heart and Daedra heart simultaneously. No other humanoid NPC carries both. Combined with his filled Black Soul Gem, his inventory contains exact components for Daedric ritual at the Atronach Forge. He uses dragon shouts despite being neither Dragonborn nor Nord. He stands at 1.21 scale, one of the tallest NPCs. And here's the kicker. If you kill him before visiting Sovngarde, he never appears there. Unlike every other killable NPC with Sovngarde connections, he's just gone. The leading theory connects him to Raymond Ebonarm, a forgotten war god from Daggerfall who wore ebony armor. Others see him as the Hunding, the Redguard make-way god. The Umbra theory notes parallels to Morrowind's warrior possessed by Clavicus Vile's soul-trapping sword. The most meta interpretation reads him as a mirror of the maxed-out player. His dialogue about exhausting all quests is exactly what a level 80 player experiences. His 6 lines of dialogue, 0 backstory, and absent afterlife make him either the game's deepest character study or its most tantalizing loose end. Bethesda gave us a warrior who accomplished everything, wants one thing and cannot have it. Whether he's trapped between identities, possessed by a Daedric artifact, or exists as a mirror of player exhaustion, we'll never know. No journal, no backstory, no name, just an impossible request. But at least his mystery affects one person. Unlike the Eye of Magnus, which could unravel reality and nobody knows what it is. The Eye of Magnus, the enormous glowing orb beneath Sarthal, is never identified by anyone. Tolfdir rules out Dwemer, Falmer, Ayleid, and Daedric origins. The Psijic Order calls it too dangerous, but won't explain why. Ancano taps into it and declares he holds the power to unravel the world. Nobody disputes this. The Synod's Oculary detects only 2 magical signatures across all of Tamriel, the Eye and the Staff of Magnus. The Eye overshadows every other artifact on the continent, including 3 Elder Scrolls. The official game guide describes the Eye as having a similar origin to the Elder Scrolls, fragments of creation beyond time. The Augur of Dunlane says, to see through Magnus's eye without being blinded, you require his staff, implying the staff controls the eye. Khajiit mythology describes how Magrus had his eye torn out by Azura, who made it into the Ether Prism, possibly a literal origin for this artifact. The dominant theory proposes the eye contains Magnus's blueprints for creation itself. Magnus was the architect of Mundus, who fled before completion, tearing a hole through oblivion that became the sun. If he carried schematics for reality, and Ancano's unraveling line is literal, then possessing the blueprints gives power to unmake creation. The Snow Elves may have attacked Sarthal specifically to seize this object, making the Eye the true cause of the Night of Tears. After Ancano's defeat, the Psijic Order takes the Eye to Artaeum without explanation. They never clarify why they're qualified custodians of an artifact that disrupts even their foresight. The college gets 0 say. The Dragonborn isn't consulted. The Psijics decide they're taking the universe-destroying artifact to their secret island that phases in and out of reality, and everyone accepts it. Nobody knows what the Eye is. Nobody knows what the Psijics are doing with it. And the Snow Elves potentially understanding its danger better than Nords raises uncomfortable questions about whether Skyrim's founding myth is built on a lie. But if one artifact is concerning, wait until you hear about the historical event that might justify genocide. Night of Tears. Nordic tradition holds that Snow Elves massacred Sarthal unprovoked. Only Ysgramor and his sons survived, returning with the 500 companions for righteous vengeance. Every Nord child learns this founding myth, except in-game books tell a different story. The Imperial report on Sarthal reveals Snow Elves demonstrated an intricate understanding of the city's layout before launching their assault. Their attack was a specific directive, and perhaps a singular goal, not random genocide. Night of Tears concludes, the Nords found something buried deep. They attempted to keep it buried, but the elves learned of it and coveted it. The Eye of Magnus is the obvious candidate. This reframes Ysgramor as potentially a war criminal. His response was catastrophically disproportionate. Surviving Snow Elves were brutally bound and burnt alive, or chained and enslaved. Azadal provided magically enhanced weapons for genocide. Survivors who sought Dwemer refuge were enslaved, fed toxic fungi, and transformed into the blind Falmer. Knight Paladin Gelibor represents the only uncorrupted Snow Elf survivor. But here's the provocative counter-theory. What if Snow Elves weren't stealing the Eye, but trying to reseal or destroy it? They understood its apocalyptic potential while Nords remained ignorant. The specific directive wasn't greed, but preventing catastrophe. Ysgramor slaughtered them for it, then built a myth painting his victims as monsters. Jirik Galderson, sealed in Sarthal next to the Eye centuries later, raises questions about who placed him there and whether he's guardian or prisoner. Someone understood the Eye needed watching. Bethesda deliberately juxtaposes contradictory narratives without resolution. The game provides both heroic Nordic legend and damning Imperial research, forcing players to question whether Skyrim's founding myth is built on a lie, whether Snow Elves were aggressors or heroes, whether Ysgramor was savior or genocidal conqueror. And if Snow Elves understood the Eye's danger, who else knew? The Psijic Order's sudden interest in an artifact buried for thousands of years suggests they knew exactly what was in Sarthal long before the college started digging. The Psijic Order, unseen for over a century, suddenly intervenes at the college with suspicious precision. Monk Narian appears in a vision only the Dragonborn can see, warning you have set in motion a chain of events that cannot be stopped. They never contact Archmage Savos Aaron, Tolfdir, or any senior senior mage. Only the brand new initiate, Quaranir, later freezes time, admitting the eye's energy blocked their visions. He identifies the Thalmor as enemies, but his most revealing statement comes after Ancano's defeat. "We knew you would succeed. Your victory here justifies our belief in you." He then installs the Dragonborn as Archmage, revealing this had been their intent from the start. The entire intervention was calculated to secure the eye and place a sympathetic leader at the college. The contradictions pile up. They claim not to typically intervene directly while orchestrating elaborate multi-step intervention. They say the future is obscured yet express confident foreknowledge. They take the eye for safekeeping without explaining qualifications when the artifact disrupts even their powers. Their island Artaeum has vanished twice from physical reality. In ESO Somerset, the Sigic questline involves sealing time breaches and recovering the Staff of Towers, an artifact connected to metaphysical anchors of reality. If the Thalmor's goal is deactivating towers to unmake Mundus, the Sigic's interest in tower-related artifacts suggests cosmic-scale counter-operations. Their Skyrim intervention may be one move in a millennia-long chess game. But here's what nobody talks about. The Sigics knew about the eye before excavation. Their response was too fast, too precise. Narian appears the moment you touch it, not days later. They were watching Sarthal. They knew what was buried there, and they waited until someone else dug it up, then swooped in once danger was neutralized. They used the college as free labor. They used the Dragonborn as a weapon. Then they installed that weapon as Archmage to ensure cooperation. The entire questline wasn't about stopping Ancano. It was about reclaiming an artifact they've monitored for thousands of years. But if one organization manipulating events is disturbing, wait until you hear about the entire race that vanished and what one researcher proved happened. Arnil Gain. The Dwemer race vanished simultaneously in 1E700 when Kagranak struck the heart of Lorcan with tonal tools. Every account contradicts. Vivek claims they disappeared from the world. Ashlanders say they turned into dust. Yagram Bagern, the sole survivor, was in an outer realm when it happened and has no idea what occurred. Even Vivek admits, "I have no sense of them in the timeless divine world outside of mortal time." College researcher Arnil Gain secretly attempts to replicate the event. His quest has the Dragonborn obtain a warped soul gem as substitute for the heart and keening, one of Kagranak's actual tools. Arnil strikes the gem with keening once. Nothing. Twice. Nothing. The third strike, he vanishes in a flash. The quest completes. The Dragonborn receives summon Arnil's shade, calling his ghost. This is the most terrifying thing in Skyrim. This parallel is strongest evidence for the skin of the Numidium theory. Just as Arniel became a shade bound to the Dragonborn, summonable on command, the Dwemer became shades bound to the Numidium, their artificial god construct. Dwemer ghosts appeared in Morrowind's ruins during the Third Era, while Dagoth-Ur built a Kulakan, a Numidium replica. When the Nerevarine destroyed a Kulakan, the ghosts stopped appearing. That temporal correlation strongly suggests Dwemer souls are tethered to Numidium-type constructs. So the Sill's remark cuts deepest. You wonder where the Dwemer have gone? Perhaps better to wonder why one remains. This implies Yagram's survival, not the disappearance, is the true anomaly. Kagranak didn't achieve ascension. He created spectral servitude. The entire Dwemer race exists in tragic half-existence, and Arniel proved it's real by doing it to himself. Nobody at the college mentions Arniel's disappearance. Nobody investigates. You can summon his ghost in front of other mages and they don't react. The game treats his vanishing as minor footnote when it's confirmation of what happened to an entire civilization. Arniel didn't just solve Elder Scrolls' greatest mystery. He became the answer, and you can summon him at will, making him serve in combat, exactly the nightmare fate the Dwemer suffer. But at least the Dwemer's fate was an accident. Unlike Skyrim's Civil War, designed to have no right answer. Ulfric's Stormcloak. The Thalmor dossier on Ulfric, found in Elenwen's Solar, is the most important document in Skyrim's politics. It classifies Ulfric as asset, uncooperative, dormant, and reveals the Thalmor broke him during the Great War, then made him believe information from his interrogation was crucial in capturing the Imperial City. The city had in fact fallen before he had broken. They manufactured guilt to make him manipulable, then let him escape. The operational notes are unambiguous. As long as the Civil War proceeds in its current indecisive fashion, we should remain hands-off. A Stormcloak victory must be avoided. An Imperial victory must also be avoided. The Thalmor's optimal scenario is perpetual war, men killing men while both sides weaken. The Helgen note confirms they intervened to prevent Ulfric's execution, because it would have ended the war too quickly. Ulfric is an unwitting pawn, an asset, not an agent. His anger is genuine, but deliberately cultivated. The Bear of Markarth describes his atrocity. After retaking the Reach, every official who worked for the the Forsworn was put to the sword, even after they had surrendered. Yet the Empire's position is equally compromised. They nearly executed the Dragonborn without trial, and Jarl Balgruuf privately worships Talos while publicly enforcing the ban. Bethesda reinforced this ambiguity structurally. Extensive cut Civil War content was planned, but removed. No subsequent game confirms which side won. The player cannot share the Thalmor dossier with any NPC. The game provides no mechanism to expose the manipulation. By design, you can show Ulfric proof the Thalmor played him. Nothing happens. You can tell Tullius the enemy wants endless war. He doesn't care. The questline forces you to pick a side while revealing that picking either side serves the actual enemy. The game's season unending offers temporary peace to fight Alduin. The moment the dragon threat ends, they resume killing each other. The dragons nearly end the world, and both sides learned nothing. Players spent 13 years arguing whether Empire or Stormcloaks are right. That's the point. Bethesda designed the war so thoroughly ambiguous that both sides have legitimate grievances and fatal flaws. The Thalmor win either way, and the game never lets you expose the truth, because the truth doesn't matter when both sides are too proud to listen. But if one manipulated war is disturbing, wait until you hear the Thalmor might be trying to unmake reality itself. The Thalmor's endgame. The deepest mystery concerns the Thalmor's ultimate goal. Surface evidence shows political ambition. The White Gold Concordat, Talos bans, Justiciar patrols. But evidence suggests the Inner Circle pursues something far more radical. The systematic deactivation of metaphysical towers that anchor Mundus to existence, with the goal of unmaking the mortal world and returning Altmer to pre-creation divine state. The prophecy of the Dragonborn is explicitly a tower text. When the brass tower walks and time is reshaped, when the red tower trembles, when the white tower falls, when the snow tower lies sundered, kingless, the World Eater wakes. Each line references a tower deactivated across previous games. Red Tower, Heart of Lorcan destroyed. White Gold Tower, Amulet of Kings destroyed when Martin sacrificed himself. Crystal-like Law fell during Oblivion Crisis. Walk Brass, Numidium, destroyed at Daggerfall. Only Adamantia and High Rock definitively remains active. Michael Kirkbride's Altmeri commentary on Talos provides framework. To kill man is to reach heaven. We must erase the upstart Talos from the mythic. His presence fortifies the wheel of convention and binds our souls to this plane. If Talos derives power from worship, then banning worship isn't political persecution. It's cosmological warfare to weaken a god who anchors mortal reality. In-game Thalmor behave as political actors, not cosmic villains. Yet ESO referenced towers explicitly. The prophecy is undeniably a tower text embedded in-game. The most likely synthesis: lower-ranking Thalmor pursue political dominion while the Inner Circle quietly works towards something most Altmer would never support. The Thalmor's Talos ban makes sense politically. It humiliates the Empire, but if Talos is a tower, if worship sustains his divine presence, if his existence anchors the mortal world, then the ban takes on apocalyptic significance. They're attempting deactivation of a metaphysical anchor holding reality together, and they're winning. Red Tower, destroyed. White Gold, deactivated. Crystal-like Law, fallen. Walk Brass, gone. Snow Tower sundered, kingless, bleeding during Skyrim's Civil War. Only Adamantia remains, located exactly where Elder Scrolls 6 is set. Every game, another tower falls. Every game, reality becomes more unstable. The Thalmor, whether they fully understand or not, are orchestrating the slow unmaking of existence itself. The most disturbing possibility isn't that they'll fail, it's that they'll succeed. And by the time anyone realizes what's happening, it will be too late. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.